Recognize Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Sir, Mr. Yongpradit, I missed your number. How many computer science jobs are open across the country now, approximately?
So 500,000 open computing jobs, and those include jobs that require a four-year degree, as well as the middle skills jobs that Mr. Brown mentioned.
Okay, I want you all to write down these numbers, see if you come up with the same conclusion I come up with. I just met with Dr. Ben Carson. He told me there's 6 million skilled jobs open in this country right now. We're at a 16-year low for unemployment across the country. My state of Kansas has 20,000 open jobs. I think I read that Ms. Comstock has 30,000 open computer jobs in her state. You just told us we have 500,000 open jobs across the country in computer science. Despite that, so here's the counterintuitive things I'm learning. I'm a freshman up here. 500,000 people have given up looking for a job. There are districts in our country with unemployment of 17 to 20%. And in those districts, 25% of people are on Medicaid assistance, and 50% of them are on food assistance. My theory, see if you disagree with me, is we don't have a job problem. We have a job skills problem in this country. Everywhere I go in my town halls, whether it's the construction industry or skills set, we don't have a skilled workforce anymore. What's the disconnect? What are we doing to motivate people to not work or to not get that skill set to work? What has happened in our culture that we don't motivate people to get the proper skill set? I think this is a cultural problem. Mr. Yongpradit, you've got to comment what's happened to our culture?
I can talk about it just from my experience teaching. So at some point, we had this definition of digital literacy that was, let's just learn how to use a computer. Like, here's a mouse, here's a keyboard, let's learn how to type and create presentations, right? And that was the thing in the 80s and 90s. Lots of us learned how to use computers in a course like that. But what those courses missed is how to dig deeper and how to actually program the computer, how to create technologies of your own. And so because of that, we have this huge gap between all these open computing jobs and a workforce that just isn't skilled to use those, to access those types of jobs. We have people who may be able to use a welding machine, but they're not able to program a welding machine. And so with this level of automation that we're seeing in manufacturing jobs these days, we see people who are being automated out. Now, here's the thing. They can be automated in if they learn how to now program those machines. And in the same way, we have a great, again, we have a great opportunity ahead of us with the transportation industry, with all this automation of cars. I mean, folks, in 15 years, there will be a lot of kids who don't even think about driving. It's just nonsense to them. They'll just, call up a car to drive.
I need to move on
for them.
So we have some incredible community colleges and technical colleges in my district. And I think that they're poised to probably make the quickest adjustments. Mr. Brown, can you give some comments? Are community colleges responding? What are they teaching? What are they doing?
Well, I think you used a term that's super important here, which is responsiveness. So much of this challenge, we have low unemployment, but we have also low participation in the workforce, right? The underemployment number is probably 20% of the population.
Scary.
More, right? Part of that challenge is because it's too hard to transition from one set of skills to a pretty similar related set of skills. And I'll give you an example of a problem if we could solve that would get at this, that community colleges probably play a role, and that's transitioning military veterans.
Yes, sir.
So there's 100,000 people discharged from the military every year. About 60% of them have STEM skills. But it's really hard for a combat medic or electrical technician to get a commercial credential because we can't manage that skills gap problem just for a highly trained population that we know their skills, and yet they don't line up with the educational institutions. And so community colleges have a lot more flexibility than some other institutions. They're dealing with a lot more diverse population that has a lot of different skills. That if we could manage that transition alone of getting more of those 60,000 military veterans into STEM careers, it would help us tell the metal technician in Indianapolis who worked for Carrier a better way to get a job.
Who's doing it right? Who's the most successful place you've seen doing this?
You know, the trend that I think speaks most to the innovation is the fact that companies are doing their own training for high school students now, right? That's the commercial motive, that's capitalism at work. It's probably not the ideal solution, but that's where a lot of companies are, is they're doing this training in-house. and skipping the education system altogether, which says we have a problem.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're exactly right. I've seen that, and just in visiting, whether it's a manufacturing plant where they have actually the businesses bring people in and train them on that equipment, and because for that very reason. But I would also mention the high schools. You know, I think you're exactly right. The community colleges are a great place to be put it, but go back even earlier again. Our high schools are trying to do more of that, and I think making sure that they are faster and really adapt quickly like that, and then move it on down into junior highs, and then having these kids get some work experience too, and being exposed to all that.
Well, and can I want to make sure this is a clear point. The companies are doing it because the education system can't keep up.
Yes.
That's not to say we should be giving up on fixing our educational institutions. The high schools that people really value are the ones that are preparing kids for specific career paths. That's what the grandparents are asking for when they call up.
Great. Okay, Mrs. Johnson.